This is an ABC 7 News Politico special event. Clinton, Obama, the Chesapeake Challenge.
Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm ABC 7's Leon Harris, joined by my colleague, John Harris, editor of Politico. And we are just hours away from the Chesapeake primary, as you should know by now. And we're going to be spending some time here tonight on ABC 7 with the leading Democratic contenders that you'll be voting for tomorrow when you go out. Joining us this evening for the next half hour, uninterrupted, is Senator Hillary Clinton. How are you? Good to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much, Leon.
Now, your voice is going to be able to hold up because we heard last night and heard you this morning, so you were kind of on the edge there.
Well, you know, I've just been talking nonstop for so long now. It seems like it's over a year, but it's holding up okay.
Well, the plan was we wanted to have you in here doing some talking directly face-to-face with your opponent, Barack Obama. You even accepted our invitation to come in and debate.
Yes.
He, however, declined and turned that down. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask him, but I regret it because we've only had a two-person race for a little less than 2 weeks, and I think it's really important that people have a chance to compare and contrast us. I've accepted a bunch of debates. I hope we're going to be able to debate during the next couple of weeks, because people are finally really focused on the fact that it is between Senator Obama and myself, and I think these debates are very useful for people, so I regret that he didn't accept this one. It would have been fun to have a debate with you two.
Do you think he's afraid of debating you?
Well, you have to ask him, John. I don't know. I think that it seems kind of strange because he's always talking about how we need to, you know, let the voters know where we stand and make sure that they understand our positions. And I think the debate really concentrates attention. So I'm hoping that he'll accept some of the other debates that we have lined up.
Got it. I just want to talk about this campaign, Senator. You started it with universal name recognition, a powerful fundraising network, overwhelming support from the Democratic establishment. Now you've got your back up against the wall. You've lost 5 states in a row. This past weekend, you had a big campaign shakeup. Simply put, what's gone wrong?
John, I think things have gone well. I think this is always going to be a competitive race because there's so much at stake. And the history-making nature of my candidacy and Senator Obama's candidacy is just thrilling to me. I mean, obviously, it's bringing people in from all kinds of different perspectives, and it's giving people a real stake in what happens in this election. And, you know, I've been around a long time, so, you know, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. I've been through all of that, but I feel really good about where we are. We had a great night on Super Tuesday. We're winning the states that we have to win, the big states that are really going to determine whether Democrats win. I have something in common with my husband. He never carried caucuses either. He lost all of the ones that I've lost. So my perspective is that as we now move into this two-person race with the big states up ahead, Ohio, Michigan, obviously, Ohio and Texas, we're going to see a real focus on the differences between us.
Senator McCain has never had executive experience. Senator Obama has never been an executive. You've never been an executive. So people are looking to the campaigns for some insight into how you handle adversity as an executive. Tell us what this campaign should tell us about your executive ability.
Well, that we have a very good campaign with a lot of good people, and we move people around into different positions depending upon what our needs are and what their personal needs are. But I'm very proud of my campaign.
Right. What have been some of the toughest decisions you've had to make in the course of this campaign?
Well, you know, John, I don't think about the campaign as having tough decisions. I just don't think about that. I think about the tough decisions that people are facing. You know, campaigning across our country is a very intimate and personal experience. I mean, it's covered from kind of 30,000 feet up, you know, what's happening and what's all the ins and outs of the politics. But for me, it's about the very personal encounters that I have with people who really need help. They're in the tough spots. You know, they're the people who don't have health care. They're the people who are losing their jobs or losing their homes increasingly. So, you know, campaigns are a means to an end. It's a way of getting a message about a candidate out. It's a way of getting voters to get involved, and I think we're doing that.
Let's talk about a place where campaigning didn't happen, Michigan. You know, and when we look at what's going to happen with the delegates from that state, there are a lot of questions that are still hanging in the air about that right now. Michigan was being punished for having moved up their date, and their delegates are now not supposed to be getting seated. Now, some of your supporters are saying that they should be seated even because you won the Michigan primary. It was a primary, though, where your name was the only one on the ballot. Barack Obama's name was not on the ballot. Do you think those Michigan delegates should still be seated there? And if so, how is that fair if Barack Obama did not get a chance to contest you in Michigan?
Well, Leon, I think that both Michigan and Florida should count, because these are two states we have to carry. This is not about so much as the ins and outs of the Democratic National Committee as to whether the Democrats are going to win in the fall. In Michigan, all of us had a chance to leave our names on the ballot. I chose to do so. My opponents ran a very vigorous campaign to get people to vote uncontested. You know, that there was a campaign going on. It was a campaign against me, and I still won a majority. In Florida, 1.7 million Democrats showed up and said, we will not be disenfranchised again. We went through 2000. We went through 2004. I think that the Democratic Party has to be looking very realistically about what it is we're trying to achieve here. We need to win in November. And therefore, I think that both in Michigan and Florida, the Democratic Party should really give these people who came out and voted, they weren't involved in the rulemaking, give them a chance.
But again, getting back to the question of fairness, is it fair if you don't get a chance to compete head-to-head, if there are no debates, if you aren't actively on the ground? Barack Obama's contention is that when he's on the ground, he's able actually to gain ground on you while he's there. If you don't get a chance to go head-to-head on the same field at the same time, how fair is that if those delegates are seated and he doesn't get a chance to contest it?
Well, of course, people follow the campaign. And, you know, sometimes he's contested me and done well, and sometimes he's contested me and not done well. So I don't think that is by any means a given. What I do believe is that both Michigan and Florida are key win states. Democrat cannot win if we don't win Michigan and Florida. Therefore, I hope we do work this out.
Well,
I believe strongly in that.
Let me ask you about one other, if I can just belabor the point for just a bit. One suggestion for working that out has been to go ahead and have a second primary there. That's been suggested by some Democrats. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, a second primary would be obviously very expensive. I don't know who's going to pay for it. The 1.7 million people who voted thought they were voting in a primary. They wanted their votes and their voices to be heard. So I hope we're going to work this out. I really think that we've got to work it out. But I don't want to see Michigan and Florida Democrats be disenfranchised.
Senator Clinton, just yesterday you were out in Manassas and Prince William County here in Northern Virginia. Immigration in those two localities, huge issue. And I wanted to ask you about immigration. Now, you oppose a guest worker program saying it exploits workers, but you would carve out a special program for agricultural workers. But here in Northern Virginia, immigrant labor is important to the hotel, construction, lots of other industries. Why single out agriculture and not those other industries?
Well, for a couple of reasons, John. I mean, for one, we know that there is a shortage of farm workers. This is a sector of the economy that over decades has been demonstrated to be very difficult to attract legal workers, American citizens and other legal immigrants. That is not true yet in the hotel industry and the hospitality industry. It is easier sometimes to employ people who are immigrants, and often, in my experience, to really take advantage of them. So I would like to see us solve what is clearly a shortage of labor problem in the agricultural sector. You know, as I've traveled across the country, really from Western New York, where I represent the farmers and the people there, all the way to California, this is becoming a crisis. We don't have the farm labor. So let's solve that problem at least. I'd like to see it be part of comprehensive immigration reform. In the absence of that, what's happening is that farmers in California are starting to move their production facilities to Mexico and Latin America. So it's going to be a lose-lose for us if we don't get that agricultural labor problem fixed.
Well, right there in Prince William County, as you probably know, this was a big issue there. The local board tried to crack down on this itself.
Right.
One of the provisions was very controversial. Most Democrats opposed, said that the police should check on legal status when they pull somebody over in a car. Is that a good idea?
You know, I think it's really sad that individual communities are trying to cope with our broken immigration system. It should not be the responsibility of a municipality or a county. This has to be fixed at the federal level. There are lots of strong arguments against turning local police officers into immigration enforcement officials. It has to do with, you know, making sure people will report crimes, making sure people will go to the police when there's a problem. That's a matter of public safety. It doesn't only affect the immigrant community, it affects all of us. So I far prefer that we try to do what needs to be done on comprehensive immigration reform, and I have spoken, you know, very forthrightly about what I would do.